Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bo and Joe Show. I'm here with, it used to be only one man could keep me up after 9, Bodine Sanders. Now I have two. Adrian Farris is on again to help us break down the MLB scores and what's happening in Major League Baseball. So hello, gentlemen, and welcome. Welcome to another Wednesday night. What's happening?
Joe, how are you?
How you doing?
Hey, guys.
Adrian, how you doing?
Doing well. Glad to be back.
Oh, well, welcome back. You're our baseball guru, so we appreciate it.
All right, so we can start breaking it down, right? I mean, there's a lot to talk about in the world of baseball. We got the wild cards going on. We're really in the final week. So what do you think, Adrian? What about the Yankees, Red Sox? There was a big sweep this week.
Yeah, well, things have changed since last week. So, last week there was a wild card race in the National League. That's now over. Look at that Phillies hat, and I think it may be over for the Phillies. They go in tonight. They go in tonight 3.5 down behind the Braves, and they have no shot at the wild card. So
it's over. I pulled my hat out of storage, hoping that something was going to happen. I mean, come on, it's over, right?
Yeah, I think it is. The fact that the Braves were on the West Coast last week and they came back home still 3.5 games ahead of the Phillies. I don't see the Phillies getting in that or getting back to it. As far as the division races are concerned, all division races are over in the American League. With the Phillies 3.5 out behind the Braves, you could still say that's a race, but like I said, I don't think it is. But the Dodgers are still 2 games behind the Giants going into tonight, which is still a surprise for everybody. But the Giants just won't slow down. Both teams have won over 100 games already this year.
Yeah.
And it's going to go down to the wire this weekend to see what happens in the National League West. I think with the as big a favorite as the Dodgers were going into the season, I think going in as a wild card would definitely be a downer for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the other interesting fact is that the St. Louis Cardinals, who are in solid position in the second wild card spot, they've won 17 games in a row going into tonight.
Correct. Yep.
So they're the hottest team in baseball.
Yep.
And if they can keep that up, which would be very tough, it could be interesting with either the Dodgers or the Giants having to play them in a wild card situation next week.
Yep.
So with that all said, all the fun's in the American League as far as the wild card is concerned. As we talked about last week, Yankees were 2 games behind the Red Sox going into the weekend series, and they promptly behind Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge
knocked them out of the Red Sox. Knocked them out of the park.
They sure did.
Big booming home runs. Them boys are monsters. How tall are they?
Nobody hits the ball. Well, Judge is 6'7", 6'8", 280 pounds.
Oh.
Giancarlo is right there with him at either 6'6", 6'7". But Giancarlo is what you would call a brick house without the word in front of it.
Yes. Yes.
He's just solid
he's chiseled, right?
Yes. Oh. That's exactly what he is. And nobody hits the ball harder.
Oh, I mean, I saw a home run this weekend. I went, no way on God's green earth a human should hit the ball that violently, but it looked smooth. And it's like he hit a 9-iron. He went down and got it versus hitting across, right? You remember that home run?
Yeah.
That went, hold up. That's just crazy.
Yeah, he got one last night in Toronto that was down and in. I forget who was on the mound, but they were throwing him change-up after change-up. I think he threw 6 change-ups in the at-bat, and the 6th one, Giancarlo promptly, deposited in the second deck.
Oh, Amazing.
So, so they go in tonight 2 games ahead of the Red Sox. They were 3 games ahead of the Blue Jays, but the Blue Jays just beat them 6-5.
Okay.
So, and I believe the Red Sox are up. So that is going to change tonight. The Red Sox will be a game behind them, and the Blue Jays will be 2 games behind. And then the other interesting thing is, and I forget who was on the call last week or was watching us last week. We mentioned the Seattle Mariners.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mariners have crept up into a much stronger position. They came in tonight actually a half game ahead of the Blue Jays. So that race has tightened, even though the Yankees have won, 7 of their last 8.
Mm-hmm.
That race is tightened. So that's going down to Sunday. There's no doubt about it.
So speaking of the Blue Jays, what about Marcus Semien breaking the, I used to play second base, so I love that position. He broke the record for the most home runs for a second baseman, 44. That's actually my favorite number too. So I'm all about that.
That's your favorite. That's your favorite number, Joe?
It's one of my favorite numbers. Yeah.
Okay, I got to write that down so I can remember it.
He hit a big one tonight, as a matter of fact. He hit another one tonight.
Awesome. All right. Well, then I guess 45 is going to have to be one of my favorite numbers. But so Justin's giving us all the scoop. He's saying, let's go Blue Jays. He's a fan as well. He's telling us the Yankees lost just now. So yep. He's saying the Yankees have the harder schedule. So yeah, there's a lot to go. There's a lot to go on the line for baseball. It's exciting. It's an exciting time for sure.
It is, no doubt. No doubt. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the last, 5 days, 6 days. Today's Wednesday. So yeah, we're going down to 5. Sunday's the last day. So we'll see.
We'll see. We'll have a lot to talk about next week for sure.
Sure will.
Well, how about this human interest story? There were 2 brothers, the pitcher and the hitter, and the younger brother hits a home run off the brother. What's do you remember? Did that happen? That happened a couple of days ago. And
I didn't see that.
And so it was kind of like the rivalry between brothers that you have growing up, and
in the majors.
And they played each other earlier in the year, and the older brother struck the younger brother out on a I don't know, a cutter or a low pitch, but the younger brother, I know what that's like. You can't let him sweep you throughout the season. So the younger brother tattooed a home run off of his older brother, and so Justin probably knows who it is.
Justin, he'll find out for us.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, what do you think about Ohtani's comments at the end of the season? And he was saying how much he loves the team and he loves the fans, but his main objective is to win, and he doesn't know what his future is going to be with the Angels moving forward. I mean, I think that's raw and honest portrayal. I mean, athletes are in it to win, but
that's actually interesting because Ohtani had the opportunity to go to many different teams when he came over, one of which was the Yankees, but he didn't want to go to the Yankees or some of the other teams, and he chose the Angels. The Angels, over the last few years, they haven't been very good, especially since they got rid of I forget his name, who was the manager before Joe Madden, but can't think of his name right now. They've had injuries this year. So if I were him, I wouldn't jump to wanting to leave. Any professional athlete wants to win. Yes, Mike Scioscia. Thanks, Justin. So they did some winning under Mike Scioscia, but got to the playoffs, but they never got to the World Series. I'd wait a little bit because I'm getting old.
I think he's under contract till 2023. So he's not talking about doing anything jumping ship until then. But it's bittersweet. How I am about winning isn't everything. I get it. I'm major league athletes, but in some respects, I wish that he hadn't said that, because you have so many young fans out there who probably in little league and they're not always on the winning team. And they're not going to make it to the majors. So I think there's honor in just playing and doing your best as well. But that's a different that's my perspective.
I get that, but professional athletes are paid to win. And for the Angels, Mike Trout is who I was thinking about. Mike Trout has been out for over half the season.
Yeah.
So
Philly guy.
Yeah.
Delaware.
He's a Jersey. He's a Jersey guy. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an interesting perspective. And Justin's telling us it was Bradley Zimmer who hit a home run against his brother Kyle.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, baby. The younger brother got him.
So that's Justin's our assistant and our main researcher. So thank you, Justin.
He's the man. Well, listen, I'm excited for the playoffs because I've always watched baseball during the playoffs. It's very tough, or have been tough for me as a non-baseball player, to follow baseball like a baseball fan would during the season. It's just a lot of games. But I love the playoff baseball, and I got my sunflower seeds ready, baby. I got my sunflower seeds ready. Yeah.
Next week, I want to see him in the side of your cheek.
And I will say, I do not.
Well, thanks, Adrian. I appreciate the baseball update. We're looking forward to it, and let's move on to some college football. We're gonna start with how well Deion Sanders is doing down there in Mississippi. Deion Sanders at Jackson State University. Woo! Look at Deion. No, he is doing a great job at Jackson State. They're 4-0. And, there has been an acknowledgement of lack of coverage regarding HBCUs. But it's now getting the coverage, and he's demanding coverage. He even scolded ESPN, maybe it was last weekend or 2 weeks ago, because they could have done a better job of promoting the HBCU final scores on the bottom ticker on the main network versus on one of the, the ESPN2 or whatever the other ESPN channel it is.
The secondary, right?
Yeah, but he's doing a great job. They're 4-0, and I don't know how much our audience knows, but I'm sure they know the history of a lot of the HBCUs and how a lot of the athletes came out of HBCUs who went to the pros because Black athletes weren't being recruited back in the day for mainstream, predominantly white institutions. And we know that's changed. So a lot of the talent pool left the HBCU level. But now they're generating more awareness. More athletes are making decisions to go to HBCUs. And especially if you've got Deion coaching, and then he was up against Eddie George, who's the head coach of Tennessee State. And everybody who likes NFL football, college football, remember Eddie George from Ohio State and Tennessee, right? The Titans. So they had a head-to-head matchup. Deion won, and he beat. Wow, I mean, his team whipped up on Eddie George's team 38-16. But Deion's 4-0. They beat Florida A&M the first game of the season 7-6. Then they beat Eddie George 38-16. Then they beat Louisiana Monroe 12-7. And then they beat Delta State 24-17. So Deion's Deion's making a name for himself as a coach, right? And he's bringing awareness to the MEAC, right? And for those who don't know, a lot of the HBCU schools are in a specific type of conference, right? Because they're not generally on the level of Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, so forth and so on. So they have a specific category, and then there are 5 conferences within that HBCU group. So over the next couple of weeks and months, before towards the end of the football season, we'll talk about HBCUs because they deserve it. Because a lot of guys in the NFL come from HBCUs, right? And they make it to the pros. And folks recognize them when they're playing for the pros, but they generally don't know where these guys came from. So we're going to highlight them a little bit as we continue to do our shows.
All right, great.
And Deion's doing so well, he's actually starting to generate some talk about him being the next head coach at his alma mater, Florida State.
And that'll take some time. That's going to take some time, right? He can't do what a coach who comes from Nebraska as a player and then gets the head coaching job at Tulsa, and then all of a sudden he's at Tulsa for 2 years and then he leaves to go back to his alma mater. No, Deion's got to turn that program around, make them a winner, right? And then he can go. And that's unfortunate, but that's what he's got to do. Because if he leaves Jackson State without turning the program around and really winning, then people are going to say, well, he wasn't really in it for the reason that he said he was in it for. So it's unfortunate that he's kind of stuck until he makes that happen, where other coaches, mainstream coaches, white coaches, don't have to do that. But he's got the money because he made so much money in the NFL and in baseball, where he can take the time to rebuild that program and then go to Florida State. So I anticipate everything. Deion's what? He's got to be around my age, right? Our age, Adrian, right? So he's got time. If he takes the head coaching job at Florida State at the age of 60, he's got 10 years to coach at Florida State, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think his heart is where he is right now, and I think he has a plan. Not just to lift Jackson State, but to lift the to increase the awareness of the HBCUs.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's doing that. Joe, one thing that a lot of the HBCU schools did or are continuing to do is they didn't have the players' names on the back of the jersey.
Why?
Because if you think about what the coaches were thinking when they started that, they wanted the players to earn the respect and win versus, having your name on the back of your jersey and being on a team allows you to walk around campus and say, hey, I play football, look at my name, right? And so that's kind of like an incentive. Hey, if you win, like Grambling, right, and some of the other schools, Adrian, help me out, Alcorn State, maybe.
Hampton, Howard.
Right, Alabama, A&M, Alabama State, So the winning programs, maybe the coaches would put their jerseys names on the back of the jersey, but most of the other schools didn't. And Deion's like, no. These kids have worked too hard to come to a school and play football and not have their family name on the back of the jersey representing their families, the school, their neighborhood, their high school. So I would imagine next year, most HBCU schools are probably going to have their names on the back of the jersey.
I love that. I've always been a huge Deion Sanders fan. And that just keeps going. I think this really speaks to his character. And I love when any coach elevates the people beneath him. I mean, I think there are many different ways of coaching. Some are bullying tactics. And, I've seen them. Of course, I haven't seen them at the college level personally, but I've seen it. You see it all through your children's childhood. And we've spoken about it and how sports can bridge the gap. And the influence of a coach right down from kindergarten on is really instrumental in changing the blueprint of a person's life, I believe.
And let's give a hand to ESPN, who's one of the first networks to step up and say, hey, we're going to focus on HBCUs. They call it, what is the classic? Which classic is it?
The Bayou Classic.
Bayou Classic and other classics, and that'll happen around Christmas time, right? So, or Thanksgiving. So ESPN has done a great job, right? So, and some of the other networks will follow. Why? Because if advertisers say they want to see it and they're going to pay for the advertising, right? Then the money trickles down. And I write about this in my book. Edward Waters College, now Edward Waters University, is in my hometown. There was not one sweat coming off my body that wanted to go to EWC back then. It's now EWU, because it was like playing for my high school team, right? I never, ever gave it thought. But now I have a younger cousin who's playing for EWU because it's in a hometown. It's a Division II school, but their football field, because of the money that goes to conferences, and then they spread that money out equally, they have an outstanding field. They have a turf field. I'm like, great. They didn't have it when I was growing up. They had grass, and it was terrible. They didn't have a nice stadium. The bleachers were wooden seats. You know what I mean? So there's lots of money out there to be made if we make sure everyone not equally, but everybody gets a piece of the pie, right? Then it elevates everyone, and that's a good thing. So.
Great.
All right.
Before we move off of college football, I do have one comment I want to bring up.
What's that?
Justin is reminding you that Villanova lost to Penn State.
Of course he is. And we did. We got put it this way. Here, Justin, thank you very much. I love you, brother. That game was just like all the other games in the NCAA. This past weekend, most of the Division I schools scheduled a game that they know they could win. It's against a Division I AA school or Division II school. So because in the past, the first game of the season would be a sure win game, right? A sure win team. And the networks were like, no. We're going to start the NCAA season jumping out with the big games, right? So they scheduled the first two games against a conference foe or a big team. And then the third game of the season or fourth game was with a team that they pay to play and win. I'm glad that we only got one guy hurt or injured. Everybody else is fine. We dropped from being ranked number 7 in the country to number 9. So we didn't get hurt that bad for losing that game. And now we're off. And now we're going to finish up the season with our CAA schedule and stay ranked and go to the playoffs, because the difference between Division I and 1AA, the FBS is teams like Penn State, Auburn, Alabama, the big teams that we all recognize, right? They have a 4-team playoff. The FCS, which is the division or conferences that Villanova's in, Richmond, schools like that, that's a 24-team playoff. So we're not hurt by that loss to Penn State. It's a learning process. Our D-backs need some work because they basically didn't run the ball against us and hurt us, which would allow the interior guys to get hurt, right? Because if you're running the ball, that's offensive lineman versus defensive lineman. They basically threw the ball a lot, and they just showed how much more speed they had than we did. And so we lost. It's not the end of the world.
All right, before we delve into the NFL, I do want to talk about, did you see the news, the press release that came out from the NCAA in regard to basketball, since we talk about diversity and inclusion, that they have, for the first time, they will be using the March Madness branding for the women's basketball teams. I guess it was a big controversy last year. The courts had no branding at all on the women's team, or it just said women's basketball across the bottom of the court. And they said that that's a gender bias and really demeaning to the women's teams. And so that's big. I think that's a big breakthrough. For the first time in history, women are going to be getting the branding and in the same respect that the men do. So I love that.
Well, remember last week we talked about the study,
soccer teams,
the study that came out from Tampa, from the university, that school down there that did that overall assessment of diversity. Well, during the NCAA tournament and the women's tournament, there was a big outcry because one of the female players videotaped walking into the fitness center. All it took was to show the difference between the fitness center for the women and the fitness center for the men. Then she showed the difference between the food that was served to the women and the food that was served to the guys. And that's all you needed to see. You walked into the fitness center for the women and they had no equipment in there. It was embarrassing. And the men had all the top equipment you could name. And so there was a big controversy. The NCAA had to hire an outside firm to do, an investigation of how that happened. And they got crushed. And they got crushed because the evidence was they didn't really need to do the hire the law firm, because the young lady who videotaped it posted on social media and it blew up. So yeah, that's what happens when you get involved. You don't have to be, a name brand reporter or an investigative reporter. People individually can see something wrong and say something and can make change. What was Justin's comment? I missed that.
Justin said it's way overdue for the NCAA to support women's sports.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's shocking. I didn't see that post. I'm going to go back and look at it. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked about the fitness center, but the food.
Oh, it was ridiculous. The men had catered food and the ladies had boxed lunches. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I wouldn't have eaten that stuff they were serving the ladies. I was like, what? Nah. So they got to correct that. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Good deal.
All right, so on to the NFL, where we're getting to the halfway point. I did want to, I think the big story, one of the big stories of the week, of course, is Tom Brady returning to New England for the first time. There's all types of stories about it. His father was commenting. Bill Belichick was talking about him today. I think there's a lot of buzz around that. And I want to talk a little bit about too his relationship with Richard Sherman. I mean, I love that story. Do you know that story at all? And that's one of my favorite aspects of it. I think that it goes back to our topic about mental health. First of all, just the way that they met up, and Tom was instrumental in recruiting Sherman to the Buccaneers. But then Richard Sherman had that arrest this summer for domestic violence and DWI, and really he spoke out this week. And I'm going to read the quote because I think it's really speaks to what we've spoken about. Did you read the quote?
I did not, but I want go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear it.
I want to read it because he said he's in therapy now, and he said, at least in the Black community, it's one of those things that you're never taught to seek counsel, to seek help. You always feel like, hey man, I'll deal with it. Tough it out. Let's get to the next play. in football terms, let's get to the next play, next play, next play. It's like you give up a touchdown, like forget about it. I can get an interception. The same kind of truth holds true in life. If something terrible or tragic happens, you never really get to address it. So I think that he's really addressing his health. I think that it's very difficult. We've spoken about it in the past. I mean, and I certainly can't speak for Black men, but you've spoken about it. It's very difficult for men in general to, especially many men who even address or talk about their mental health. And it sounds as if, and you can validate it more so than myself, that it's even more problematic in the Black community. So I really applaud him. And especially in the football community, you came out and you're talking about it. And I think that is really worth mentioning and giving him some props for.
Well, if you think about it, it becomes tenfold, right, Adrian? It's part of the culture that we grew up hearing, right? It could also be part of the process in which there were limited, probably no therapists of color, right? So if you grow up in a Black community and then there are no Black therapists, and then you're growing up in an era, right? If we look in the rearview mirror, right? In terms of race relations, right? Then if you're not going to go to a white therapist who you have confidence that has your best interests at heart based on the time period, right? It just made it, you got no shot. You have to handle it on your own, right? But now where we are today, that doesn't have to be that way, right? People are talking about it. There are lots of Black therapists available if you choose to only go to a Black therapist, right? Some feel comfortable going to whatever therapist they can find. But he's talking about issues where people can now say, okay, he's bringing it out in public. He acknowledged it. And if that helps someone get over the hurdle, that's a good thing. And the way that, and that's the human interest story. The football story, if you want to add something, Adrian, I'll talk about the football story after. You want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, I think obviously what you said is true, but I think it also has to do with being a male, that machismo, that I can handle it myself. I'm strong enough. I can work through it. The feeling of weakness if I do go speak to somebody about certain things. And so for me, it's a little bit different. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I'm a Gulf War veteran. So, and my wife will tell you, someone may come ask me a question about my time in the desert, but she'll always say, you never hear him talk about it. And I don't really talk about it unless I'm asked. So there's just that. I mean, especially, I guess, the older you are, with us growing up, you were taught, shake it off, figure it out, all of those types of things, and the types of things that we kind of passed on to our kids. That right. as you get older, you're like, hey, wait a minute, maybe we could have gone about that another way, and you try to maybe change that. Because I know I see things differently now at 55 than I did at 35.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
no question.
Yeah,
no question. Yep. I like this. I like to use the Warren Sapp quote. When I was 25 without a kid and a conscience, I was, don't mess with me. Stay out of my way. But now, over the years, right? You gain a different perspective and you mature, at least you're supposed to, right? You're supposed to grow and enhance and improve. So the way, and let's piggyback or circle back to the way Sherman and Brady started their career was competing, right? Wasn't it for, in the Super Bowl or during a season? and Sherman got the best of him by picking him off. And right, didn't they? Hold on.
I don't know. Did the Seahawks ever play the Patriots in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, did they beat them in the Super Bowl?
I don't know if it was a Super Bowl, but it was a game, and they lost by 1 point. Brady lost by 1 point. It was 24-23, and then Sherman was wearing the T-shirt. He won.
Okay.
You mad, bro?
You mad, bro? The you mad, bro game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And Brady was taking a knee, and Sherman reached down. He was doing what football players do. He was rubbing it in. You mad, bro? Right. And Sherman was playing for Seattle, which back then they were the best defense on the planet.
Yep.
You couldn't run. You couldn't do anything with Seattle. It was a regular season game, right? But it was a big regular season game because the Patriots was great and Seattle was great, and it was on. And so, you had those egos are involved, right? Bragging rights. When you win games like that against Tom Brady and other quarterbacks, you get endorsements, right? The money comes because people recognize that you're a great player. So, yeah, but I'm glad they were able to work it out because Richard Sherman, with his experience with Tampa, oh, my God, they're loading up.
They're loading up.
They're loading up.
Well, I mean, it's. I think it's been proven in the last year and a half that Tom Brady's the best recruiter in the NFL.
Isn't he?
Antonio Brown, he got Gronk back.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So there's no doubt about that.
Well, hey, didn't Michael Jordan kind of do the same thing? Right? He kind of recruited Rodman from Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
He recruited Kerr from the Spurs. So he knew in order to keep winning, he had to keep adding, players to his game, and that propelled him to keep winning. Hey, if you want to win, you want to go where the players are who are winning, right?
Absolutely.
It is as simple as that, right? So I think even if you think about Peyton Manning when he went to Denver, I'm sure some players went over that we can't think about right now. But
right.
I'm sure some players went to Denver. Number one, you had the general manager, right? John Elway, who has a great reputation, right? An NFL Hall of Famer. Then you get Peyton Manning, and then they had some talent there, but they just filled that talent in, and boom, they won. That's what happens.
Yeah, well, they needed Manning. I mean, they had a great defense.
They had a great defense.
They needed an offense that could, put points on the board. But that was a classic defense winning the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
In that case.
Absolutely. Yep. So, hey, it happens.
Yep.
The rich get richer, right?
Yeah. Usually the way it works.
That's the way it works. So, and I love the ending of the story. Well, it's not their ending, but Richard Sherman was saying that he has a jersey signed now by Tom Brady, and he said he has it in his safe, and Tom signed it and said, "Still mad, bro."
Listen,
I love that.
Listen, the bottom line is Brady is, and we talked about this, Joe, before, right? Tom Brady is the GOAT on and off the field. He's doing everything right. You can't be mad at him because he's doing it all right. He doesn't have an ego big enough or pride big enough where he's going to do what Bill Belichick did and assume that he could win without Tom Brady. No, Tom isn't doing that. He's like, bring it. I want to win. I want to continue to be the greatest. And I don't have, such a big ego that I can't step up and push aside what happened in the past. He's showing that. So, listen, if they continue to load up in Tampa, it's over. It's over.
I think too, he has just a persona about him as well. I mean, did you see the stories this week that came out about his father as well? His father was talking smack about the Patriots, how they chose not to pick him up because they couldn't afford him. They didn't want to renegotiate. And then Tom came out and he had a tongue-in-cheek response. He was asked about it. And he said, my father is a 77-year-old CEO of an insurance company, and I don't necessarily agree with his perspectives, and he should be mindful, and I'm paraphrasing, he said he should be mindful that at any point I may be putting him in a home against his will.
Again, he's handling it well.
Yeah.
There you go. You can't handle it better than that. You know what I mean? So he's basically, telling Dad, calm down. I get it. You're proud of me. You're happy. You know what I went through. You got your one shot. Enough's enough. Let's squash it. That's all he's saying. But you know who's really going to handle Tom's dad? Tom's mother. She gonna be like, dude, don't you do that again. Because she, how it is, Joe, come on. She is going at him while he walks in the house. She gonna be like, you cooking your own dinner this week? You sleeping on the couch? Don't make life worse for our son. Have you lost your mind? So no, Mom, you can't mess with Mom. Dude. So yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, I can see. And Bill Belichick, actually, I don't know if you saw that either. He was asked, of course, about Tom this week. He said they do have a good relationship and that some stories to the contrary are false because there's a new book coming out about their relationship. I believe it's being released this week. And that he said that if anybody can play to 50, Tom's going to reach that goal. So I thought it was very nice that he said some very endearing things. So they worked together for a very long time. And I think that they always had a good relationship.
Listen, the interview I saw, I don't know if you guys saw it, all Belichick did was mumble.
He didn't want to talk about it.
That's all he did was mumble. And I was like, I didn't even hear what he said. Just leave him alone. I mean, that's a waste of time. I can't get that. I can't reclaim that time that I watched him mumble when a reporter asked him questions. So why even ask him? Y'all wasting our time. Ask somebody who will answer a question to give you something, right? Come on. Belichick, he's killing.
So we have a couple of breaking big news I want to put up quickly. So
okay.
Justin is going to the game this weekend. So that's exciting for Justin.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Here's a late breaking baseball. Adam is saying he's so pumped right now. He just watched the Braves beat the Phillies and
told you
in NL East champs. So.
That's over.
It's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Turn out. Listen. Turn out the lights. Banana in the tailpipe. It's over.
So who do we think is going to win the game between the Patriots and the Buccaneers? There's a question.
Oh, come on, Joe.
Patriots don't have a chance.
They don't have a chance. It's over. It is over. Brady is going to dig deep into that Irish anger and passion. Oh, it's over. And the thing about it, the players are going to do it as well because they know what it feels like to lose to the Patriots and have lost to Tom when he was playing for the Patriots. So this is a way to get Bill Belichick and the Patriots back. We now stole your guy. We got your guy. It's just like, right? We're at the park, Adrian. We're in Ardmore. And you pick your 5, I pick my 5, right? And last weekend you had Mr. Irving on your 5. Well, this weekend, Mr. Irving's now on my 5.
Uh-oh.
And so we're bringing it to you because we now got your best player, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like that. Yeah. It's like that Charles Barkley commercial when the little kid says, I got Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Right? So listen, Tampa is going to crush them.
It's not going to be a game, and Tampa's coming off a loss to the Rams last weekend. So sorry, Patriots. It's over.
It's over. Yep, I can see it being over. So, but let's talk about because we got some time. I got to talk about how my Eagles got crushed by the Cowboys.
I know. That was a great game, though.
They got dragged.
Yeah.
Oh, listen. It is, I mean, the fact that it started out great, right? Dallas comes down, gets a touchdown. The Eagles defense steps up and gets a touchdown in the end zone. It could have been a safety, but it turned out to be a touchdown. And then it was over after that. Literally, it was over. I can't believe. No, I can't believe it, because you know what? Eventually, when the Cowboys come here, usually within the division, we split those games, right? So the question is, where will the Eagles be when that game happens? Will we be close to them where we can, even it up within the division, or the overall wins for the season? Who knows? But this game was, it was just, after the first 5 minutes, it was over.
If the Cowboys stay healthy,
mm-hmm.
it's not going to matter. The Cowboys are going to be reckoned with this year, and they're the class of the NFC East, and I think that's already been shown. Redskins defense is not playing as well as it did last year.
Washington.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's that faux pas. I'm sorry about that. The Washington football team, their defense is not playing as well as it did last year.
Yep.
The Giants are. Let's not even talk about the Giants.
No need to.
The Eagles. The Eagles. They're looking for a quarterback. Let's be honest. They're trying to find out whether, they have their guy, or whether they're going to be looking for somebody else.
No,
that's the fact.
I don't think that. I think they know they can win with Hurts. The problem is, you've got the offensive line issues. It's young. Besides the center, we Johnson on the end, the tackle. Pretty much 3 guys on that offensive line are new or young, right? The defense and our defensive backfield is just banged up. So you got a lot of young guys there. So we got injuries on the defensive side. So there's just a lot of holes. And then we got a new coach, right? So you're basically starting over with a new coach, a quarterback that's only started 7 games, right? He started 2 this year, or 3 this year, and 3 or 4 last year. So
he's still a rookie.
He's still a rookie, right? He's still a rookie. Yep. So, I don't think they're looking for a quarterback. I think they're just trying to find themselves in general, right? So, and it's tough to compete against the big dog when you're trying to find yourself. But guess what? You got to do it because you get paid like everybody else. Right. Yeah,
I just think, I watch a lot of college football, and so you look at Jalen Hurts, started at Alabama, Tua takes his job, comes back in the middle of a Georgia game, beats Georgia, keep him from winning the national championship, but then he transfers out to Oklahoma, does well at Oklahoma, but that was all about his athleticism. I don't think yet whether he is a consistent, accurate passer down the field, and I think that's what you're trying to find out with Jalen Hurts, and I just don't think they know whether he's going to end up being that or not.
I understand where you're coming from, but I see Jalen Hurts like the quarterback at Baltimore, Jackson. Right? He was definitely not an accurate passer his first few years. But what did they do? They crafted an offense based on his athletic ability and what he did in college, right? Sure. And they were and so they gave him time to grow and still win at the same time. That's what I think the Eagles should do. Craft an offense based on what his talents are and what he can do, and then allow him to grow into the position. Because, again, yes, he's not Tom Brady. He's not 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", or 6'5", right? So he he's not the traditional underneath the center, straight drop back quarterback. No, you got to roll him out, roll him right, roll him left, right? Spread offense, right? Run outside the tackles with the running backs every now and then, do some reverse stuff or some deception. But he's not the traditional drop back quarterback. Why try to make him that? Because he's not that tall.
I agree. I agree. The question is whether they'll do that or not. I mean, look at Justin Fields and how he got. Look at his weekend last weekend, and that's because they're not running an offense that's going to maximize his skill set.
That coach should be fired.
Yeah, that was sad. I mean, I felt sad for Justin Fields. I mean, he was destroyed. I mean, I've never seen a game where someone was sacked that many times. Or
they could have got that kid hurt.
Yeah,
they could have got that kid hurt
for sure.
I mean, that coach should be fired. So sticking with the Dallas Eagles game, I gotta tell you, Trayvon Diggs. I'm a former defensive back. That pick six was gorgeous. And do you realize his brother, Stephon, who plays for Buffalo, the younger brother, Trayvon, the cornerback, has better stats as a defensive back than his brother does as a wide receiver.
That's surprising for sure.
And Diggs, remember, he came from Minnesota. He was the one that caught that amazing pass and ran it into the end zone against the Saints. Remember that great play, right? Isn't that the same kid, right?
Yeah.
He's been in the league at least 5 or 6 years. Trayvon has 3 INTs and 1 touchdown. Seriously, his stats are better than his brother. He, on that interception, he ran it back 59 yards. He has more yardage on that INT than his brother has on his longest play as a receiver. His longest play this year as a receiver is only 41 yards. I'm like, whoa, their brothers are. That's a great conversation. I'd like to be a fly on that wall to listen to that conversation and see how that younger brother is rubbing it in the nose of the older brother, right?
Yeah.
But
that could actually fracture a relationship. I mean, we've seen that. Brothers in professional sports who I forget who the famous brothers are who did that, where they were estranged. I'll have to think of it, or Justin can think of it. But what about the Dallas kicker? I think he's been Gurlane. He's been really inconsistent this year, and I think that is a weakness for Dallas. They look strong, but that's a weakness too.
Well, you got to have special teams. Football is a 3-phase game: offense, defense, special teams. If you have a weak link in that chain of the 3, the chances are you're not going to win a Super Bowl. So they better work on that and get it better. And with kickers, you have time, right? You have some time to get that. But the offense of Dallas is putting up numbers. And as long as Dak stays healthy, they're going to continue to put up numbers. What's great about them this year, or better about them this year, is they have the fired head coach of Atlanta, who's now the defensive coordinator. And he was a great defensive coordinator for Seattle when they won the Super Bowl. So he's bringing that knowledge, and that's what's making the Dallas defense better. So they are, based on 3 games, what we see on tape, Dallas is at this point the best team in the East. Philly second, and the other 2 are horrible. And so aren't they adding an additional playoff team this year to football, or is it just 17 games they added?
I think just 17 games.
Okay. So based on the playoffs and what we see in the division, I got to put my glasses on, folks. I got to put my glasses on so I can read this. You're going to have Dallas is right now the best in the East. Carolina's the best in the South. And Green Bay is the best in the North.
And the Rams in the West.
And well, that's the best division right there. You got Arizona, the Rams, San Francisco is 2-1. So, so listen, there's going to be, that's a pretty good conference right there. And then we go down to the American Conference. You got, Buffalo is leading the East.
Expected.
You've got Tennessee leading the South. And then you got that competitive North Division. You got Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. How about Pittsburgh being a dog?
Expected in my book. I mean, they were bad last year.
Well, yeah. Do you think
they were
it's terrible
offensively? Do
you think it's time for Ben to call it quits at the end of the year?
I think it's been time. I've been calling for them to get rid of Ben the last 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. But they have offensive line troubles also. But I think the big surprise is look where the Kansas City Chiefs are. Last in the West.
I was about to get to the West. You got Denver, 3-0, Vegas, the Raiders, 3-0, and the Chargers, 2-1, and Kansas City pulling up the rear. So listen, it's on. Teams got a shot. Teams got a chance to make it to the playoffs. And by the way, Dave Sims, I sent Dave Sims a text while we were talking about the Mariners, and I told him we were talking about the Mariners, and he sent me a thank you back. So
Justin has an interesting question.
Go ahead.
I know the answer is no, but it is something to think about. I got to get to it. Could Dallas sign a female kicker? That would be shocking. I don't think the NFL is ready for that, but
I don't think so.
Are there any female kickers in college football?
Now, Tennessee, was it Tennessee last year that had that? No, it was Vanderbilt.
It was Vanderbilt.
Last year, Vanderbilt had the female kicker.
Yeah, because their kicker got hurt, and they pulled a young lady from soccer because she expressed interest, and she actually scored a point. She actually kicked it through the upright. So, and I think I saw in high school, is it high school or a small Division III college this week, a young lady playing tight end and
I wouldn't be surprised.
And scored a touchdown. But to answer that question, yes, Dallas would hire and sign a female kicker if a female kicker was able to demonstrate she can kick a 40, 45, 50-yard field goal. Most field goals are in that 40 to 50. I mean, remember, we just had a world NFL record this past weekend.
Well, I was about to say, what about Detroit losing on a 66-yard record field goal with no time on the clock?
And guess what? The refs blew it because the clock did hit 0. They should have got penalized. The ball should have been moved back 5 yards. I watched that game.
So there was a delay of game?
They got hosed. They got hosed.
That was an amazing game, though. I mean, that was probably my favorite game of the week.
Was it?
Yeah, it was tight. It was tight. It was a great game, I think. And I think it's speaking to Aaron Rodgers now, right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is really showing those naysayers that, maybe he wasn't as mentally unprepared as everybody claimed. He seems to be pretty in it to me. I don't think he's, mentally fatigued or out of sorts. He seems to be playing on point to me.
Well, listen, Tom Brady's the GOAT. Let's all admit it. But based on active quarterbacks in the league right now, we can find reasons to say Russell in Seattle is a special quarterback. He won a Super Bowl, right? We can talk about Jackson and the Kansas City Pat Mahomes being MVPs and the way Patrick Mahomes can distribute the football based on the talent, right? Because he was a former baseball player, right? His dad was a former Major League Baseball player.
Yep.
But Aaron Rodgers can throw that pill better than any quarterback I have ever seen. And I've seen Marino, Starbuck, Fran Tarkington. I mean, I've seen them all. Aaron Rodgers can throw the pill, period. No one can sling that ball. Warren Moon could sling the ball, right? Randall Cunningham could sling the ball. But Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. That dude can quarterback. He just needs a better team around him. And he knows it, and that's why he's not happy. Because he knows he should have multiple rings on his finger. He knows it. So
impressive.
Yep.
All right, so it's 11. What are we going to do? We gotta close it out. Adrian, any closing thoughts? What's on your mind?
Oh no, I think it's another great show. I think you need to look out for those Rams. Matthew Stafford and the Rams. They, in my mind, they are the best team in the NFL right now, bar none, because their defense is also probably the best in the league. So the addition of Matthew Stafford, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I think there's some teams that are, they're not what their records say they are, because they haven't played anybody yet. The Arizona Cardinals, the Denver Broncos, both 3-0, but really haven't played anybody. So it's gonna play itself out, and it'll be interesting to see how the season materializes.
What game are you looking forward to most this weekend? Let me ask you that.
You know what? At the beginning, I actually had that on my mind.
Well,
now it's probably lost. Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah, we've got Tampa. We talked about Tampa and New England, but Pittsburgh is. I got the schedule right here. Monday night football is Vegas versus the Chargers. That's a good Monday night game.
That's going to be a great game. Dallas and Carolina. So 3-0 Panthers go to Dallas. That's going to be an interesting game.
Cleveland, Minnesota. Detroit, Chicago. Nope, not interesting. Houston, Buffalo.
Buffalo should take care of that game.
Okay. Then we got Indy, Miami. Nah. Kansas City, coming here to Philadelphia. I can't make a comment about that.
There's a game we're missing. There's a big game we're missing.
Hold on. I'm going down the list. Hold on. Giants versus New Orleans. Tennessee versus the Jets. Washington versus Atlanta. And Arizona and the Rams.
That's the game. That's the game. So we're going to see what the Cardinals are made of. And I think we're going to find that. I think we're going to find that the Rams are a much better team than the Cardinals are.
Seattle, San Francisco should be a good game.
Yep.
And then Baltimore, Denver should be a good game. So there's at least 6 or 7, 8 games that are very important games on the schedule this weekend that people should be interested in.
Yeah, so we're going to find out about a couple teams this weekend. We're going to find out about the Panthers. We're going to find out about the Cardinals. We're going to find out about the Broncos.
Yep.
Who's playing tomorrow night, Bo?
Tomorrow night is Thursday.
Isn't it the Jags and is it Jags Colts?
It's Jags my home. It's my hometown Jags versus Cincinnati in Ohio. So I'll be watching that because my hometown Jags got to get a win. We need a win. Did you see that punt return or that field goal return? Yeah, that became another tied for NFL record, 109-yard return in my hometown. Hey, listen, did you see the weather in that game? I can't wait to go home and sit in that stadium when it's nice and sunny, not too hot, not too cold, and watch a beautiful game. I mean, come on. That was just great to see.
Do you want me to know if I'm on next week? Do you want to know where I'm going to be casting from next week?
What?
Do you really want to know?
You going fishing?
Yeah, I'm going to fishing in Maui.
Really? Oh. Well, good for you, brother. Good for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to give you a picture of the beach.
Okay. Well,
we really will be coast to coast. We're going to be off next week.
You're going to be there all week?
Yeah, leaving Monday.
Will he be able to do this next Wednesday, Joe?
I think so.
Well,
Hawaii
I'll be
on
6 hours behind you, so that won't be an issue.
Yeah, but are you really going to want to come onto the show and leave the sunshine?
Oh no, he's coming on the show if he's 6 hours behind us. 10 o'clock. That means that's around dinner time. Oh no, you better come on the show next week if you're gonna be in Maui. Oh, absolutely.
Don't give up a luau for us. That's for sure.
Oh no, he's gonna be on. No, absolutely no. Absolutely, we're gonna live vicariously through you next week, brother.
There you go.
You kidding me?
I expect Adrian in a grass skirt then with a leg.
Hey, guess what? Here's a little coaster for you too to put the little, put your beer up. You put your beer in.
There you go.
Look at that little coaster.
V's up.
V's up, baby.
V's up. Bodine, what are your closing thoughts?
Hey, listen. Sports is absolutely an equalizer, and it brings people together. And there's lots of great play on the field. There's lots of human interest stories. There are women out there that are breaking into the ranks on every level in all sports. And we should applaud the teams that are doing that. I was involved in an event in Atlantic City yesterday, and where this organization, Dare to Dream, is providing resources for young people, high school seniors, college students, to break into the sports and entertainment world. Even the food industry that's associated with that world. So sports is creating lots of opportunities, right? We talk about, remember last year when sports was the back burner because of COVID. It wasn't just the athletes weren't playing. The concession stands, folks who worked at concession stands weren't making any money, didn't have a job to go to, and all those jobs that are associated with it. So folks who beat up sports and beat up athletes, they have issues. Sports is a great industry. It's allowing us to talk about it. And so let's appreciate what we're seeing and what the sports industry is doing. That's why I wrote a book about, right, diversity in sports.
Agreed. And I think that your book really is instrumental in, it doesn't start out in professional sports. It really is speaking about summer camps and really there was a huge loss. I mean, I have young sons who are teenagers. The loss of sports, even at the youth level, was really, I believe, could change the blueprint. For instance, my son missed out on his last year of Little League, his big moment, the big clapping out. It's not really clapping out, but that big moment, your culmination, the ceremony, he's never going to have that. And he's not going on to play high school sports or college sports. And I think that, the kids were really robbed of so many experiences that really are important. And I think that, it really was a detriment. And unfortunately, COVID is really shaking up. So I'd love to see, I'd love to see the fans back in the stands, not of course, when they're beating each other up. There's been a lot of that, but it's really, and I think that is going to be interesting. I think that's something I'm looking forward to this week. I'm looking forward to the Patriots Buccaneers game, but I'm also looking forward to seeing the reaction of the fans. How are they going to receive Tom Brady? Is it going to, are they going to, I think they're going to be happy to see him, in all honesty. I think that they love him and they have an affinity for him. So I think that's going to be an interesting perspective as well. And I can't wait to hear more about that organization. I've read about it since you told me about it, and I'm already a big fan. So
well, did you see the commercial that they did with Tom Brady, where he's calling one of his buddies who owns a bar in Boston, and he's telling him how much he dislikes him now, but he still loves him. And then and Tom's wife is sitting at the dinner table doing some work, and when Tom hangs up the phone, she's Giselle, right? Isn't that her name, Giselle? Mm-hmm. She says, "Did he tell you?" I don't like to use the HATE word. She says, did he tell you he dislikes you? And he says, yep. So, I mean, they're like making fun about this thing. I mean, they are blowing this thing up. A lot of pregame shows. What's the Adele song, Hello?
Hello. Yeah.
They Fox, either Fox or NBC did a promo with that song, Hello, with Tom Brady, it's me, I'm leaving, and you know the words to the song.
Yeah, so, calling from the other side.
Yes. So believe me, the NFL knows what it's got. This game is going to get high ratings. Everybody's going to watch it, even fans who don't watch football regularly, because they're going to hear about it starting today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. And then boom. So I'm watching it. I hope you guys are going to watch it.
I'm watching it. I think that's why it's on Sunday night. It's strategically placed as a nighttime game for
prime time game. Everybody's watching. And because I'm not on drugs this week, I will have my beer or beverage with my coaster, my sleeve, and I will be watching that game. Yes.
So I lied at the top of the show. I said, you gentlemen are the only two who can keep me up after 9, but Tom Brady can keep me up after 9 too. So we'll be reporting on that next week. So we're as usual, we went over time. We're past our time, but we had a lot of fun. Thanks so much for being here, Adrian. And of course,
thank you.
My life wouldn't be complete without you. So thank you for tuning in. You make my Wednesday night, my weeks go by. Well, not only do we speak outside of the show, you make my life completed on and off the show. So thank you. Thanks.
Well, you're welcome, partner. And it's mutual. Absolutely, it's mutual.
And of course, we can't do a show without our main man behind the scenes. So thank you, Chris. Thanks for keeping us on track. He's nodding back there. The fans can't see him, but yeah, you let us go overtime, so we appreciate it. So we'll
Thanks,
see everybody
Chris.
next week. Bye, guys.
Deuces up.